The 2,000-year-old question was answered for me one night in New Mexico by someone I didn't expect. And that answer is why you can't trust everything you've been told about the end times. I healed an injured alien. Before we dive deeper, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Grab yourself a warm drink, maybe a cup of tea, or just some water, and sit back as we begin this journey together. And in return, he revealed to me when Jesus will return. The information I received didn't come from an ancient text or a sermon. It came from outside this world, and it proves that you're waiting for something that may actually be happening right now. The people who hold power and dictate what is true don't want you to know this, because this revelation doesn't just change the date on the calendar. It destroys the model of control, fundamentally changes the way you live and the way you prepare. I'll tell you exactly when and how this information impacts your life today. But first, you need to understand how this truth was obtained. Pay attention to every detail of Sarah Jenkins's story. Sarah Jenkins was driving down Highway 285 at 2:37 a.m., returning from house calls in Santa Fe. 45 years old, a nursing technician, a single mother of a teenager. Night shifts paid better, and she needed every extra dollar. The radio played softly, gospel music that kept her awake. The road was empty. The New Mexico desert stretched out endlessly under a starry sky. She was thinking about Ethan, her 6-year-old son, about the question he asked constantly, almost obsessively. "Mom, when is Jesus coming back?" Sarah never knew how to answer. "Soon, son. Soon." But what did that mean? A year? 10? 100? She prayed for revelation, asking God to give her an answer to give to her son, who was beginning to doubt precisely because the promise never seemed to be fulfilled. And then, it happened. Flash, intense, blue-white, tearing through the dark sky. Sarah saw in the rearview mirror something falling fast with a trail of light and smoke. Oh my God. She instinctively slammed on the brakes. Airplane. It has to be a plane crashing. The object, whatever it was, disappeared behind a hill about half a kilometer from the road. Then silence. Sarah didn't think. 20 years as a nurse. Automatic instinct. Survivors. There may be survivors. She made a sharp U-turn, turned on her hazard lights, and sped back. She left the main road, driving down a dirt track toward where she saw the fall. Heart pounding, hands steady on the wheel, mind already preparing. First aid kit, check airway, control bleeding, call emergency services. He passed the hill and saw, and stopped completely. That wasn't a plane. The object was. Sarah was at a loss for words. Metallic, but not like the metal she knew. A shape her brain refused to process properly. Angles that didn't make sense. A surface that seemed to reflect and absorb light at the same time. Smoking, clearly damaged. Part of what looked like hull was melted, cracked. "What?" Sarah whispered, and then he saw movement. Someone crawling out through an opening in the object. Weak, desperate movements. Sarah got out of the car like an automaton. She grabbed the first aid kit and walked toward the figure. And when he got close enough to see clearly in the car light, she stopped breathing. It wasn't human. Grayish skin with a strange sheen. A larger, disproportionate head. Limbs that are too long, and eyes even half closed in pain. Enormous and completely black. Sarah froze, her brain trying to process the impossibility. The creature looked at her and Sarah saw fear, pain, and something else. Silent pleading. He's hurt. Part of it registered automatically, wound in the side. Fluid loss. Irregular breathing. He's in shock. The nurse inside her spoke louder than terror. Sarah approached slowly, hands raised. "It's okay. I'm a nurse. I'll help." I didn't know if the creature understood, but tone of voice was universal, right? The creature tried to move, moaning softly. Not a vocal sound exactly, but a vibration Sarah felt in her chest. "No, don't move." Sarah knelt beside him, inspecting the wound. An opening in what appeared to be the left side of his chest, dark fluid oozing out. Not red blood, but definitely vital fluid. It needs pressure. It needs to stop. Sarah opened the kit, grabbed some gauze, and applied firm pressure to the wound. The creature shuddered but did not resist. "You need to get out of here," Sarah said, more to herself than to the creature. "If anyone saw this fall, military, government, anyone, they'll come. And I don't know what they do to you." But she looked around. Empty desert. But for how long? Decision made in seconds. Sarah helped the creature stand. Heavier than it looked, but she managed. Her arm wrapped around what would have been her waist, supporting her weight. They walked, dragged to the car. Sarah opened the back door, helped the creature in, and laid her down on the seat. He took a blanket from the trunk and covered himself completely. "Be quiet. Don't move. Don't make a sound." I didn't know if the creature understood, but those enormous eyes blinked once in assent. Sarah got in, started the car, and started driving back onto the road. Hands shaking now. Adrenaline starting to wear off. Reality starting to sink in. I put an alien in my car. Alien. This isn't real. This can't be real. But when he looked in the rearview mirror, he saw a form under the blanket breathing heavily. Real? Impossible, but real. "What did I do?" Sarah whispered. "Lord, what did I just do?" But she couldn't turn back now. The creature was hurt. She needed help, and to leave her there alone. Hurt, waiting to be found by who knows who. Sarah couldn't do it. Even though she was an alien, even though it was impossible, someone is injured, needs care. That was the strongest instinct. Stronger than fear, stronger than logic. Ethan was at his grandfather's house. Thank God. She'd have an empty house. Could what? Treat an injured alien in the living room? "One day at a time, Sarah," she muttered to herself. "One day at a time." And as she drove down the deserted road, the impossible alien breathing heavily in the back seat, Sarah Jenkins had no idea she was about to discover the answer to the question that had been tormenting her son. I had no idea that in the coming days, this otherworldly being would reveal truths about the second coming of Jesus that would change everything. But at that moment, I was just driving. Nurse doing what a nurse does, caring for someone who was injured. Even if that someone wasn't someone, at least not in the sense she always understood it. Sarah arrived home at 3:15 the morning. Small house on the outskirts of Albuquerque. 2 bedrooms, dirt yard, wooden fence in need of paint. Nothing special, but it was hers. She parked in the garage. Thank God she had a garage and quickly closed the door. "Okay." Sarah took a deep breath. "Okay, you can do it. It's just someone who's hurt. You treat hurt people every day. Human persons," inner voice corrected. "No." That she opened the back door. The creature was exactly as she'd left it, motionless under the blanket. Only faint breathing indicated life. "Come on," Sarah said, more to encourage herself. "Let's get you in." He helped the creature out. Her movements were weaker now, almost dead weight, and practically dragged her to the kitchen door. Inside, door locked, curtains closed. Sarah took the creature to the sofa in the living room and carefully laid her down. He turned on the lamp. Enough light to see, but not too bright, and he really looked. In better light, details became clearer and more impossible. The skin wasn't exactly gray. It had a slightly bluish tint. The texture was smooth, but not like human skin, almost like rubber, but not quite. Proportionally, large head, oval shape, no hair, no external ears, just depressions where ears should be. Huge eyes now closed, protected by thin, almost translucent membranes. Small mouth, no prominent nose, just 2 openings, and the wound on what would be the left side of the chest, still bleeding or leaking. That dark liquid. Sarah switched back to nurse mode. She grabbed a complete first aid kit. Hydrogen peroxide, clean gauze, gloves. She put them on. "I'm going to clean the wound," she said, not sure if the creature was listening. It might hurt. He began to clean carefully. Dark liquid came out, viscous, not like human blood. It smelled strange, metallic, but also sweet. The creature shuddered, but did not resist. Sarah examined the wound more closely. It looked like a burn, a laceration, a combination of both. He applied antibiotic ointment. He wasn't sure it would work on alien physiology, but it was what he had. Then he covered it with clean gauze and wrapped it in a bandage. "Done," she said, removing her gloves. "For now, that's the best I can do." The creature opened its eyes. those impossible, completely black eyes, and looked directly at Sarah, and Sarah felt something. Not words, not voice, but gratitude. Emotional warmth that wasn't hers, but that she felt nonetheless. "Can you understand me?" Sarah asked hesitantly. The eyes blinked once. "Is that so?" Another blink. "Okay, great. Do you need water? Food? I don't know what your species." Sarah stopped, realizing the absurdity of the situation. She was offering snacks to an alien in her living room. "I've gone crazy. I've officially gone crazy." But the creature raised its hand, 3 long fingers, Sarah noticed, and pointed to its own chest. Then it made a sleeping gesture. "You need to rest." Confirmation blink. "Okay, you rest. I'll try not to have a mental breakdown." Sarah went to the kitchen, made strong coffee, and sat at the table. Her hands were shaking. "What did I do? I hid an alien in my house. An alien. If anyone finds out, government, military, church, God." Sarah automatically made the sign of the cross. "Lord, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if this is a test, if it's temptation, if it's I don't know, but guide me, please." She looked around the room at the form on the couch, breathing softly now. "Why did I do this?" Sarah wondered honestly. "Why didn't I leave it there? Why didn't I call the authorities?" Because he was hurt. And Sarah Jenkins, a devout Pentecostal, a nursing technician, a single mother who struggled every day to survive, couldn't leave someone hurt alone, even if that someone was from another world. First 2 days were strange and silent. Sarah called in sick to work the first time in 3 years. She called her father to say Ethan could stay a few more days. "I have a bad flu. I don't want to pass it on to him." Lie. First deliberate lie in years. But what else could he do? The creature slept most of the time. It would wake up periodically, drink water that Sarah offered through a straw, and then go back to sleep, wound slowly, healing, dark fluid stopping leaking, edges beginning to close much faster than any human wound. Sarah changed bandages 3 times a day. She checked her temperature, or what she assumed was a temperature. She monitored her breathing, doing what he knew how to do, caring. On the 3rd day, he woke up more alert. He sat up on the couch and looked around the room carefully, really seeing for the first time. Sarah was bringing water when she noticed. "You're better," she said, relieved. The creature looked at her and Sarah felt something. Not words exactly, but gratitude, a warmth that wasn't hers, but she sensed it nonetheless. Can you understand me?" Sarah asked hesitantly. The creature blinked once deliberately. "Is that so?" Another blink. Sarah sat in the chair opposite. "Do you need anything? More water?" "I don't know what your species eats," or the creature raised a hand, 3 long fingers, and touched its own chest. Then it pointed at Sarah. "Do you want to thank me?" Confirmation blink. Sarah smiled slightly. "You're polite for an alien." And then it happened. Voice. Not exactly voice, but direct thought inside her head. "Thanks." Sarah dropped her glass. Water spilled onto the carpet. "You said in my head." "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm strong enough now to communicate directly." Are you actually talking telepathically to me?" "Yes. It's how my species communicates, more efficient than vocal sound." Sarah stared, mouth open. Then he started laughing, a nervous, almost hysterical laugh. "I'm telepathically talking to an alien in my living room. This is happening. Yes, and I'm grateful. You risked a lot bringing me here." I didn't think much of it. I saw you hurt." And Sarah gestured helplessly. "It's my job, taking care of hurt people." "I'm not a person." "You're hurt, that's enough." Silence. "Then your species fascinates me. So much contradiction. So much capacity for love and hate simultaneously. You study humans. Is that why you're here?" "Yes." Observation, trying to understand why they make certain decisions. And Sarah crossed her arms. "Have you come to any conclusions?" "Yes. You are a young species still learning, making mistakes that many civilizations make at this stage." "What mistakes?" "Dividing when they should unite, fighting when they should cooperate, fearing differences when they should celebrate. Sarah thought of church, of denominations fighting, of countries at war, of people hating each other because of their skin color, who they loved, where they were born. We are complicated, she admitted they are, but they're also capable of extraordinary acts like you, saving strangers, strangers who aren't even of your own kind, without hesitation. How long until you leave? Go home. I need to repair the transmitter. Signal location, maybe 2 days. Then my friends will come and get me. And then you go back to your planet and forget about Earth. I don't forget. Observation continues. Especially now. Why especially now? Because the coming moments will be decisive for your species. The choices you make will determine your future. Sarah frowned. What kind of choices? The ones that have always mattered. Love or fear? Unity or division? Evolve or stagnate? You speak as if you know our future. I don't know the future. I see patterns. Your species is at a crossroads as many before it have been. And the others, the ones who were at that crossroads, what happened? Some evolved. They became more. Some stagnated. They destroyed themselves. Sarah shivered. What about us? What do you think we're going to do? Xylar studied her with those impossible eyes. I don't know yet. But finding you gives me hope. Me? Why? Because you chose love when you could have chosen fear. You chose help when you could have run away. If there were more like you, your species has a chance. Sarah didn't know what to say. She sat there processing. Real alien in her living room saying she gave hope to humanity. It was absurd, impossible, and strangely comforting. Xylar, she said, finally, try. When you leave, will you tell me about these choices, about what's next? If you want to know, yes, I want. So, in the next few days before I leave, I'll share what I know, including things that might challenge what you believe. Challenge how? You'll see when the time comes. And Sarah, sitting in a lamplit room looking at the otherworldly being, felt that life would never be the same again. Even though I didn't know yet how profound the change would be. By the 4th day, Xylar was strong enough to walk. Sarah watched him rise from the couch, movement still careful, but definitely firmer. He walked to the window, peering through the parted curtains into the backyard. Your world is beautiful. Different from mine, but beautiful. What's your world like? Sarah asked, curiosity overcoming caution. 3 suns. The sky never gets completely dark. Oceans, not of water, but of another liquid. Lower gravity. Everything lighter. It looks amazing. It's home. Like this is yours. Xylar turned to her. Can I ask a question? Of course. Why are there so many pictures of him? Xylar pointed to the wall. Sarah looked. A crucifix above the TV. A painting of Jesus with children by the door. A framed Bible verse. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It's Jesus Christ, my Savior, my faith. Yes, Jesus, Yeshua. I've seen it before. Sarah felt something tighten in her chest. See where, in many human homes, he is a central figure for much of his species, especially you. He is everything to me. He died for my sins. He saved me. And one day, Sarah paused, one day he will return to go back. Yes, second coming. Promise he made. My son constantly asks when it will happen. And you don't know how to answer. No, Sarah admitted. No one knows. No one knows the day or the hour, but it will come. I have faith in it. Xylar was silent for a long moment. Then, Sarah, can I share something? Something that might be hard to hear about Jesus? Try. Sarah's stomach tightened. Part of her wanted to say no, but a bigger part, the part that had always sought the truth, nodded. Tell me, Yeshua, Jesus, is not unknown to us, to my kind, to many kinds. What do you mean? Do you know Jesus? We know the teachings. We know the love he represented. Because this love is not exclusive to Earth. Wait. Sarah held up her hand. Are you saying that there is Jesus on other planets? Not Jesus specifically, but a manifestation of the same divine love, the same consciousness, different forms, different names. but the same essence. Sarah shook her head. No. Jesus Christ is the only one. The only begotten Son of God, born in Bethlehem, died on the cross and rose again. The only Savior unique to earth. Yes, but the Creator, what you call God, would not limit love to one planet. Billions of worlds, billions of life forms, all loved equally. That contradicts everything I've learned. It contradicts what humans have taught humans. It does not contradict God's love. Sarah began to pace. No, you don't understand. The Bible is clear. Jesus is the only way for you. Yes, for Earth, yes, but God's love is bigger than a planet. Sarah, infinitely bigger. So you're saying my faith is a lie? No, thought came firmly. Your faith is real. Jesus' love is real. His sacrifice was real. But it's not the complete story. It's a specific chapter in an infinite book. Sarah stopped, tears burning. Why are you telling me this? Why destroy what I believe in? I'm not destroying. I'm expanding. Xylar approached. You saved my life. Sacred debt in my culture means I must give something valuable in return. And the most valuable thing I can offer is truth. Truth about what? About the question your son asks? About when Jesus returns, because the answer will change how you see everything. Sarah felt her heart race. You really know when he's coming back. Yes and no. Because the question itself is already incorrect. How can a question be incorrect? Because you're waiting for an event that's already happening. You're waiting for something to come back that never stopped happening. I don't understand. Not yet. But I'll show you if you're willing to listen without judging first, without defending your ego against uncomfortable truth. Sarah stood still, mind at war. Part of her wanted to tell Xylar to shut up, to kick him out of the house, to protect the faith she'd carried her entire life. But another part, the part that always questioned, that prayed for revelation, that felt there was more beyond what the church taught, that part needed to know. I'm willing, she said finally, her voice trembling. But if this is some demonic trick, it's not, and you know it. You felt it when you saved me. You felt kindness. You felt love. Demons don't inspire selfless sacrifice. Sarah nodded slowly. Okay, tell me, when is Jesus coming back? Xylar looked at her with those impossible eyes. He never left. What? Jesus, Yeshua, never left. You expect a physical return, but he is here. He has always been in every act of love, in every moment of compassion, in every person who lives what he taught. Not that the Bible says he will return with power and glory, and he will return, but not as you imagine. When you understand what Jesus' return truly means, everything will change, including the answer for your son. Sarah sat down heavily. Then explain to me, please, because I'm lost. I will, but it will take time, and it needs to be open. Very open. I am. So, tomorrow, when you're rested, when you can truly listen, I'll show you the truth about the second coming that will change your life, and that of his son. On the morning of the 5th day, Sarah woke early. She hadn't slept well. Her mind was racing with everything Xylar had said. Jesus never left. He is here. What did that mean? How could he be here if he had ascended to heaven 2,000 years ago? She made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened her Bible, looking for she didn't know what. Comfort, confirmation, denial. Xylar appeared in the doorway. His movements were now completely normal. His wound was almost healed. Impossible, but real. He slept little. Mine didn't turn off. Understandable. Xylar sat across from her. May I begin? Explain. Sarah closed her Bible. Yes, please, because I'm confused. I'll show you something first. Memory mine. Would you allow direct mind sharing? Is this safe? Completely. I'll just show you what I saw, what we observed. Sarah hesitated. Then she nodded. Xylar reached out. 3 long fingers. Sarah touched it, and the world exploded in images. Sarah saw through Xylar's eyes. He was no longer in the kitchen. He was watching Terra from afar, from very far away. Ship, incomprehensible technology, and a screen showing the Earth spinning. But not just physical Earth, something more. Layers of energy, light, information. What you are seeing is Earth in multiple frequencies. Xylar's voice explained not just physical matter, but also collective consciousness. And Sarah saw areas of bright light, pulses of love, compassion, kindness, and dark areas, hate, fear, violence. We've been observing this for millennia, mapping human consciousness, and we've noticed a pattern. The images changed. Going back in time, Sarah felt a specific moment 2,000 years ago. An intense burst of light in a region he recognized as the Middle East. Jesus, when he walked the earth, his consciousness was so pure, so aligned with divine love, that it illuminated the entire planet energetically. Sarah saw light spreading, touching hearts, changing people, not physical miracles, although those are there, but internal transformations. And when he physically died, the light did not disappear. It fragmented, it spread, it entered people, disciples first, then others, then millions. You say he ascended, and he did, but he also fragmented. Awareness of him, love for him spread through all who truly lived him. He is in you, in every person who loves as he loved. The vision ended. Sarah pulled her hand back, breathing heavily. That was real. You actually saw that? Yes, we observed, we recorded, and we realized Jesus did not go away. He multiplied. Sarah felt tears well up. But the Bible says he will return physically with angels to judge. And it will return, but not as you imagine. Let me explain. Xylar got up and walked to the window. The sun was rising outside. When enough humans manifest Jesus' consciousness, when enough people live the unconditional love he demonstrated, when critical mass is reached, then yes, he will be able to manifest physically again, because Earth will have the right frequency, the right resonance. Frequency like radio. Exactly. Jesus always transmits. Divine love always transmits. But you only get it when you tune in through living the teachings. When enough people tune in, boom, physical manifestation, Sarah processed. So when Jesus comes back is up to us, yes and no. It constantly returns through you. Is it a collective physical return? It depends on preparation, on how many truly experience love. But that means Sarah paused. That means that every time I love someone, Jesus is present. Sim thought came strong. Exactly. Every genuine act of love, Jesus returning. Every forgiveness, him there. Every compassion, second coming happening. You expect a future event, but it's happening now. Every day, millions of little turns. Sarah covered her face with her hands. Why didn't anyone teach me this? Why does the church say it's a one-time future event? Because it is easier to wait for an external savior than to become a savior for others. It is easier to wait for Jesus to come than to allow Jesus to come through you. But my son, Sarah looked at Xylar. My son asks, when Jesus is coming back. What do I say now? Tell the truth. Jesus returns every time you love as he loved. And one day when enough do, he will return visibly too. But you don't have to wait. You can make him return today. Sarah was silent. Her mind was processing. Her heart was racing. When I healed you, she said slowly. When I found you injured and brought you home, Jesus was there through you. You were his hands, his love, his compassion. He came back in that moment. Sarah blinked, processing the words, trying to fit them into what she had always believed. That's not in the Bible. Not like that. It is. But it was interpreted differently. Where two or more are gathered in my name, there I will be. He didn't say I will be in the future. He said I will be present. But Sarah looked at the closed Bible on the table. My church teaches that Jesus will return physically with angels to judge the living and the dead. A real, visible event. And it will return. But you expect only that. You ignore that it is already constantly returning, through each one you love. Sarah stood up and walked to the window. The sun was bright outside. The world was continuing as usual. But nothing was normal. Nothing made sense like it used to. I need to think, she said, her voice distant. This is too much. Too much. I understand. My son. Sarah touched the window pane. Ethan asks when Jesus is coming back because he wants hope. He wants to know that everything will get better. And now you're saying that it's up to us. It always depended. Yeshua showed the way. It's up to you to walk. But this changes everything. Sarah turned, voice rising. It changes how I pray, how I live, how I teach my son. If you're right, she stopped. She took a deep breath. If you're right, then I spent years waiting for something that was already happening. And I didn't see it. I didn't live it. It's not about lost years. It's about days ahead. Sarah shook her head. I don't know if I can believe that. I don't know if I want to believe it. Why? Because tears burning. Because it's easier to wait for a savior from heaven than to be a savior for others. You said that, and you're right. It's easier. Heavy silence. I need to be alone, Sarah said finally. Please. Of course, Zylar stood up. But Sarah, truth doesn't change because it's uncomfortable. Just think, feel, and decide what to do with what you know now. He left, leaving Sarah alone in the kitchen. She looked at the Bible, at the crucifix on the wall, at the world outside, and he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. No peace, no clarity, absolute confusion, and fear that everything he had built his faith upon was incomplete, or worse, it was wrong from the start. Sarah spent the rest of the day locked in her room. He sat on the bed with the Bible on his lap. He opened it to passages he knew by heart, passages about the second coming of Christ. Behold, he is coming with clouds, and every eye will see him. Revelation 17. See, she murmured to herself. Every eye will see physical, real, visible, not a metaphor for love. He turned pages quickly. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then will all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Matthew 24-30. Heaven. Sarah spoke louder. Heaven, not through people. From heaven, she continued frantically, searching every verse, every reference, every promise. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. The Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout. Acts 1:11. This same Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will come back in the same way you saw him go into heaven. It's here. Sarah slapped the Bible. Clearly, literally, Jesus physically returns from heaven. Zylar is wrong. But a small voice whispered, what if both are true? No. Sarah slammed her Bible shut. It can't be both. It's either literal or it's not. She got up and began to pace back and forth across the small room. This is an attack. It has to be Satan using aliens to plant doubts. 2 Corinthians 11:14. Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. Sarah stopped. She looked at the bedroom door. But Zylar was hurt, vulnerable. I saved him. Demons don't need saving. Trick, she said loudly. Elaborate trick to fool me. But then she remembered the gratitude in Zylar's eyes, the kindness, the respect, the way he waited, never forced, always offered a choice. This doesn't look demonic. Stop. Sarah screamed at her own thoughts. Just stop. Soft knock on the door. Sarah, Zylar's thought kind. He is well. I'm great, she replied, her voice louder than intended. I just need time. I understand, but can I say something? No. Silence. Then I'll say it anyway because tomorrow I'm leaving and I won't get another chance. Sarah didn't answer. But she didn't tell him to shut up either. You're not mad at me. You're mad because you feel like what you said might be true. And if it is true, it changes everything. You don't know me. No, but I've watched many humans go through this. This moment where new truth threatens old identity, and it's terrifying. Sarah felt tears burning. You don't understand. My faith is everything. It's what keeps me going when everything else falls apart. It's what I teach my son, and it will continue to be, just expanded. Expanded is just a fancy word for changed, and I don't want to change. Why not? Because Sarah flung open the door. Because if everything I believed was incomplete, then I spent years praying wrong, hoping wrong, living wrong. Zylar was there in the hallway. impossible eyes fixed on her with a compassion that irritated her deeply. "And my son," Sarah continued, tears streaming now. Ethan asks, "When is Jesus coming back?" Because he needs hope. He needs to know that God will make everything right. And what do you want me to say, son? Jesus comes back when you love people. That's not hope. It's responsibility. What if real hope is just that? The power to make a difference now, instead of waiting for future salvation? No. Children need to know that adults will solve it. That God will solve it, not that they need to solve it. I didn't say they had to solve it alone. I said they could participate in the solution. Big difference. Sarah leaned against the wall, sliding down to sit on the hallway floor, exhausted, defeated. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't throw away everything I've ever believed in." "I'm not asking to throw it away." Zylar sat on the floor in front of her. "I'm asking to add expand container to fit more truth. But what if you're wrong? What if it's a trick? What if I change everything based on what the alien told me and find out I was right all along? So at least he lived, loving more, serving more, being more like Yeshua. Would that be so bad?" Sarah looked at him. "You always have an answer for everything, don't you?" "No, but I had a lot of time to think and observe and learn." Silence for a long moment. Then Sarah asked, her voice small, How many humans have you brought this truth? We don't bring it directly. But when the opportunity arises, like now, we share it. Some accept it, many reject it. And those who accepted, how were they? Lighter, freer, living faith actively instead of passively waiting. Sarah thought about Ethan, how he was losing faith precisely because soon never came, how his eyes lost their sparkle every time he asked her a question and she couldn't answer. "If I accept this," she said slowly, "if I truly believe that Jesus comes back through love, what do I say to Ethan? True. That Jesus is closer than he imagines. That he doesn't need to wait. That he can experience him now. What if he doesn't understand? He'll understand better than you. Children don't carry years of rigid doctrine. They simply understand love." Sarah closed her eyes, tired of fighting, tired of resisting. "You're leaving tomorrow." "Yes. At dawn. And I sit here with all this in my head. Yes, but not alone. Never alone." "How do you know?" "Because if what I said is true, and it is, then Yeshua is with you, always has been, always will be. You don't have to wait for him to come down. You just have to realize that he never left." Sarah opened her eyes. She looked at Zylar, an impossible creature who had changed everything in 5 days. "I'm very scared," she admitted. "Afraid of what?" "Of being wrong. Of losing community. Of Ethan thinking I'd lost my mind. Pause of being right. Last one is the scariest, isn't it?" "Yes." Sarah laughed humorlessly. "Because if you're right, I can't just wait anymore. I have to live. I have to be. And that's terrifying, but also liberating. Maybe." Sarah stood up slowly. "But for today, I just want to sleep. And tomorrow, I'll see what I do." "Fair." Sarah went to her room. Before closing the door, she turned. "Zell, thank you for not giving up on me even when I was struggling. There's nothing to thank you for. You saved me. I just want to pay you back." And as Sarah lay there, her mind still at war, but her body exhausted. One thing was certain. Tomorrow Zylar would leave. But is it true that he planted it? This one would stay. It would grow. It would change everything. Even though Sarah still resisted admitting it, Sarah woke at dawn, soft light streaming through the window. For a moment, he thought it had all been a dream, a wounded alien, visions, revelations about Jesus. But then he heard movement in the room. He got up, put on his robe, and left the room. Zylar stood near the window. Morning light made his gray skin glow faintly. He held a small device, the transmitter. "Good morning already?" Sarah asked, her voice husky with sleep. "Are they picking you up yet?" "Soon minutes." Sarah sat on the couch where Zell had spent 5 days recovering. It seemed impossible that it had only been 5 days. It felt like a lifetime. "I didn't sleep well," she admitted. I kept thinking about everything you said and I'm still confused, scared. But Sarah took a deep breath. But I'll try. I'll talk to Ethan. See if I can explain it in a way that makes sense. He will understand. How can you be sure? Because I saw your heart when you saved me. And a heart like that doesn't create a child who is closed to the truth. Sarah felt sudden tears. I'll miss you. Is that weird to say to an alien? No. And I'll miss you too, Sarah. Okafor. You showed me that humans still have hope. Light began to appear outside. Not sun, different, bluish, pulsing. They arrived. Sarah stood up. Are you going to be okay? They're not going to punish you for falling. No, accidents happen. And I return with a valuable gift. What present? Proof that your species can love beyond fear. You are that proof. The light intensified. Sarah covered her eyes. When he lowered his hands, Xylar was at the door, ready to leave. Xylar, Sarah called. Try. Thank you for answering a question I didn't know how to answer. For breaking what needed to be broken. For everything. Gratitude is mine. For salvation, for hospitality, for the courage to hear difficult truths, and then he was gone. He just disappeared into the light ship. Sarah didn't see it clearly but felt a presence. Left light disappearing into the sky, and Sarah was left alone in the empty room, a different world than it was 5 days ago. 3 days later, Ethan returned home. Mom. He hugged her. 16 years old, but still a child in so many ways. I missed you. I missed you too, son. They cooked dinner together. They talked about trivialities, school, friends, basketball game. But Sarah knew the real conversation was coming. It always did. And it came for dessert. Mom. Ethan picked at his ice cream. When is Jesus coming back? Sarah felt her heart race. Moment of truth. I could give an old-fashioned, confident answer. Soon, son, have faith. Or I could trying to explain what Xylar had shown. Ethan, she began. What if I told you that Jesus comes back every day? He frowned. What do you mean? He hasn't come back yet. Not physically. Not from heaven with angels? Not yet. But Sarah took his hand. Son, do you know what Jesus taught more than anything? Love. Yes, love. And he said, where 2 or more are gathered in my name, there I will be. Not I will be in the future. There I will be present. Ethan processed. So he's here now. Yes. When we love as he loved, without judgment, without conditions, he is there in that moment coming back through us. But Ethan hesitated. Church says he's coming back from heaven physically, and it will one day when enough people live the love he taught. But you don't have to wait, son. You can make him come back today as loving someone, helping without expecting anything in return, forgiving those who hurt you. Every time you do that, Sarah squeezed his hand. Jesus comes back through you. Ethan was silent for a long time then. So when I ask, when is Jesus coming back? The answer is, when do I choose to love? Sarah felt tears well up. Yes, exactly. And he's going to come back for real too, from heaven. Yes. But we don't know when. It could be tomorrow. It could be in 1,000 years. But while we wait, we can make him present now. Today, Ethan smiled. The first genuine smile in months when they talked about Jesus. I like that answer better than soon. Why? Because I don't have to wait. I can do something now. And Sarah realized Xylar was right. Children understand love better than adults. Weeks turned into months. Sarah didn't tell anyone about Xylar. Who would believe her? But it changed how he lived subtly, profoundly. At work, she treated patients not as tasks, but as opportunities. Opportunities for Jesus to return through her compassion. At church, I heard sermons about a different kind of second coming. Not just waiting for a future event, but asking, am I living love now? And Ethan. Ethan changed more than anyone. One day he came home smiling. Mom, Jesus came back today. It returned. Yes, there's a boy at school that nobody likes. Always alone. I sat with him at lunch, and I remembered Jesus came back there through me. Sarah hugged him, crying. Yes, son, you're back. Year later, Sarah was in the backyard when she felt a familiar presence. He looked at the sky. Nothing, but he felt. "Are you okay, Sarah Jenkins Zylar?" she whispered. "Are you here?" Not physically, but checking as promised. "I'm fine. I'm different, better. Your son flowering, actively living faith, not just waiting. So, I fulfilled my debt. I gave you truth, and you made something beautiful with it. Will you come back someday? Maybe if you need it, but you won't. You have everything you need now. Zylar, one last thing. Try. When? When does Jesus actually come back? Physically. Silence. Then when enough humans stop waiting and start living the love he taught, when critical mass is reached. It could be tomorrow. It could be generations. It's up to you. But you don't have to wait to live differently. You can start now, and every person you love brings the day closer. Thank you for everything. Gratitude is mine. For saving more than just a body, for saving faith in humanity and presence disappeared. Sarah stood still, afternoon sun warming her face. Inside the house, he heard Ethan laughing on the phone, telling a friend about a volunteer project he wanted to start. Jesus coming back, Sarah thought, smiling, through a 6-year-old boy who no longer wants to just wait. And he realized Zylar was right. The answer to when is Jesus coming back was not in the future. It was in every present moment, in every choice of love, in every heart that stopped waiting and started living. Jesus never left. He just waited for them to notice. And now finally, Sarah saw, Ethan saw, and they lived differently. Not perfectly, but consciously. And each day, through small acts of love, they made Jesus come back a little further. 5 years ago, Sarah was coming home from work. It was pouring rain. She saw a woman at the bus stop, soaking wet, shivering, clearly without money for a taxi. Sarah stopped the car. "Get in. I'll take you." The woman hesitated. "You don't know me. I don't need to know to help. Come in before you catch pneumonia." He took his wife home to a trailer park on the other side of town. His wife cried on the way. Her husband had left. No money, 3 children, no hope. Sarah handed over $20 from her wallet. "It's not much, but buy something warm for the kids." "God bless you," the woman said, crying. "You are an angel." Sarah had smiled. "I'm no angel, just someone who can help." Sarah opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. "Jesus came back that day," she whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't realize. But he was there through me. Coming back to that woman. She had done this expecting what? Reward in heaven. Recognition. No, I did it because it was right. Because someone needed it. And Jesus was there in the car. In the conversation, in the $20. Coming back 3 years ago, Sarah's father, who had abandoned her family when she was 10, appeared, sick, alone, begging for forgiveness. Sarah had every right to refuse, to turn her back like he had on her and her mother, but he couldn't. She spent 6 months caring for him, taking him to appointments, changing bandages, listening to stories of regret. "Why do you do this?" he asked one day. "After everything I've done, because you're my father. And because holding on to anger doesn't change the past, it only poisons the present." He died 2 months later, but he died peacefully. And Sarah also found peace she didn't know she needed. Sarah covered her face with her hands, sobbing. He was there too. Jesus. I thought I was just being a good Christian, doing what the Bible says. But it was more. It was Jesus coming back through impossible forgiveness, through love that transcended pain. How many times had Jesus come back through her and she hadn't noticed? 7 years ago work. New colleague Elena was different. Tattoos, piercings, spoke differently, dressed differently. Other nurses excluded her. Gossip in the cafeteria. Not our type. Doesn't fit in here. Sarah could have done the same. It would have been easier, more comfortable. But something in her resisted. He sat with Elena at lunch. He talked. He discovered she was also a single mother. She was also struggling to survive. A heart of gold beneath an unconventional appearance. They became friends, best friends, and when other nurses saw Sarah accept Elena, they slowly began to accept her too. Sarah smiled through her tears. Jesus there at the cafeteria table at the shared lunch in acceptance without judgment. Coming back through unlikely friendship, Elena was still her best friend. And all because Sarah chose to see the person, not the appearance. He chose to love. And Jesus returned. 2 years ago, home care, 8-year-old boy with cancer, terminally ill, parents devastated. Sarah went 3 times a week, palliative care, pain management, but also presence. I sat with the boy. I read him stories. I played with him when he had energy. I held his hand when the pain was too much. You don't have to do that, Mom said one day. Stay overtime. We don't pay extra. I don't do it for the money, Sarah replied. I do it because he deserves to have someone who cares. The boy died 3 months later in his sleep, peacefully. At the funeral, Sarah's father embraced her. You gave our son dignity in his final days. You gave him love when the world had already given up on him. Sarah wept openly now. Jesus was there in that boy's room, in the stories, in the hands he held, returning through care that transcended work that was pure love. She had done this, thinking she was serving God, expecting a reward in heaven, but the reward was there. In that moment, Jesus, returning through her, touching the life of a dying child, bringing peace to a broken family. A year ago, Ethan came home with a black eye, bully at school. Sarah wanted to call the principal, the boy's parents, demand justice, but Ethan begged, Mom, let him go. He has a hard life. Parents fight all the time. I heard he's hurt inside. That's why he hurts others. That doesn't justify hitting you. No. But didn't Jesus say to love your enemies? To forgive? Sarah was speechless. 1 6-year-old son, teaching her about forgiveness. What do you want to do then? I want to keep being nice to him, even if he's mean to me until he realizes it doesn't have to be that way. It took months, but it worked. The bully stopped and eventually he apologized. I don't know why you were nice to me, he said to Ethan, but thank you. No one has ever been nice to me before. Sarah looked at the house at the room where Ethan slept. He already knew, she whispered in wonder. My son already understood before Zylar explained it. He was already living it, Jesus coming back through a teenager's forgiveness. How many times had she prayed, Jesus, come back soon? While Ethan was manifesting exactly that right next to her 10 years ago, Sarah prayed desperately. Ethan's father had left. No warning, no explanation, no child support. God, please bring him back. Fix this. Make Jesus come back and restore my family. Prayed for months. Nothing. Silence. She felt abandoned by her husband and by God. But then, the church community showed up. They brought food. They helped with bills. They took care of Ethan when Sarah worked double shifts. Pastor visited. Sarah, I know it hurts, but you're not alone. We're here. I wish God would fix it, she cried. I wish a miracle. What if the miracle is us? Imperfect people loving you through the pain. Sarah got up and walked to the edge of the porch. I prayed for Jesus to come back and fix everything, she said to the night. And he did. Not as I expected, not by fixing my husband, but through dozens of people loving me, each one being the hands and feet of Jesus, coming back in fragments, in small acts, in collective love. She had been so focused on dramatic miracle that she almost missed the real miracle, community being Christ to her. 6 months ago, home care, elderly man, white, southern, prejudiced. When he saw Sarah, he tried to refuse. I don't want you. Send a nurse. Normal. Sarah could have left. She had every right. But something about her stayed. Mr. Harrison, I understand you'd prefer someone else. But I'm a qualified professional, and I need to tend to your injuries. Then, if you still want to change, you can ask. He grumbled, but allowed it. Sarah came back 3 times a week. Always kind, always professional, always human. It took 2 months, but one day he said, Sarah, yes, Mr. Harrison, I was foolish. I judged you by your skin. But you have more compassion than most people I've met. I'm sorry. Sarah held his hand. Apology accepted. And thank you for growing up. It's never too late, he cried. A 6-year-old man crying because someone loved him through his prejudice. Sarah returned to her chair, trembling with emotion. Jesus was there in that man's room, in the gentle care, in the forgiveness offered before it was asked, coming back through love that broke through decades of hate. She had done it out of duty, out of professionalism. But it was more. It was Jesus coming back, transforming, healing not only the body but also the soul. Sarah sat for a long hour, memory after memory, moment after moment. Every time you loved, when it was easier to hate. Every time you forgave, when it was more right to hold a grudge. Every time you served when no one was looking. Jesus, coming back through her. And he realized they weren't just his memories. They were billions, trillions, over 2,000 years. Every act of genuine love on the entire planet. Jesus coming back. Every hand extended. Every forgiveness granted. Every meal shared. Every comforting hug. Every tear wiped away. Second coming happening constantly everywhere through anyone who chooses to love. Xylar. Sarah whispered to the stars, "Thank you for showing me that I was never expecting it. I was participating. I just didn't know it." And that night, under the New Mexico sky, Sarah Jenkins finally understood completely. The question was never, "When is Jesus coming back?" The question has always been, "When will I have Jesus come back through me?" Sarah Ahor's story confronts us with an uncomfortable truth. You can spend your entire life waiting for Jesus to return while he is waiting to return through you. When is Jesus coming back? That's the wrong question. The right question is, when will I allow Jesus to come back through me? Think about how many times you've done this without realizing it. That moment when he helped a stranger on the street, Jesus came back there. That time you forgave someone who hurt you deeply. Jesus returned in that forgiveness. When he held the hand of someone suffering even without perfect words, Jesus returned in that touch. Every time you loved without judgment, served without expecting recognition, gave without expecting anything in return, Jesus returned, not metaphorically, literally. Because he never left. He just fragmented. He multiplied. He spread through every person willing to live the love he taught. The second coming the churches preach, a physical, dramatic event with angels and trumpets, will happen, but not while you passively wait. It will happen when a critical mass of humans stops waiting for Jesus and starts being Jesus for others. When enough people tune into the frequency of unconditional love, it will be able to manifest physically because Earth will have the right resonance. But you don't have to wait for that to experience his presence. You can make him come back today. Every genuine act of love shines second coming happening. Every moment of compassion shed Jesus present. Every choice of forgiveness, him here now. Sarah took injured alien and impossible vision to understand this. But you don't need an alien. You don't need a mystical experience. It just requires brutal honesty. Am I living the love Jesus taught, or am I just waiting for him to come down and fix everything? Because if you're just waiting, you're missing out. You're missing thousands of opportunities every day to make him come back to be his presence to someone who desperately needs it. The boy Sarah cares for Ethan understood better than most adults. Jesus came back today, Mom, through me. When was the last time you said this, felt this, lived this? Or are you stuck in complex eschatology, debating signs of the times, calculating prophecies, while people around you simply need love? Jesus doesn't need any more theologians debating his return. Need more people living his love now, today, in this moment. And when you do that, when you truly love without an agenda, something magical happens. You realize you've never been alone, never abandoned, never waiting. He was always there inside, waiting for you to open the door and let him out. The second coming has already begun, and you can be a part of it now. The choice, as always, is yours.